Hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for this webinar on driving Office 365 adoption. I'm Cyril Courret, Product Manager at ShareWeb, and I have with me today Zach Terry, that is Partner Executive. Hey Zach.
Hello, thanks Cyril for having me on.
That's great, thank you very much. So we'll go quickly to the agenda, then after Zach will walk us through kind of sharing his experience about user adoption, change management, and do a bit of this journey together to understand. Then, of course, we'll have a Q&A session. So don't hesitate at any time during the webinar. You have a question area in the tool. So shoot your question and be sure that we'll take time to answer them during the webinar. So today most of you are not ShareWeb partner today, so we're going to speak very quickly with ShareWeb, how we can help you. Then we really go and jump in the subject around user adoption. So how you can bundle and how you can affect your sales, or you can position offering. So really standard subject that we'll cover today. Very quickly about ShareWeb, we are a cloud distributor, really born in the cloud in 1988. We have over 5,000 partners and manage over 50,000 organizations. We are now over 600 people with a bunch of Microsoft certified experts with us. Important to know, very good NPS score in terms of support, a bunch of awards and gold competency. Main mission is really at ShareWeb, being a distributor, is really equipping MSP, and it's really our big focus. How we can equip a managed service provider to better success in the cloud. That's really the area where we excel, creating partnership and work together on different solutions. So now let's go on the subject. I give you the mic, Zach. I might interrupt sometime if there is a question relevant, and then after we can go through that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Cyril. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is the nature of I love that poll question. The nature of what we're dealing with here is what's the biggest challenge to driving adoption? And it's great to get that feedback that it's a reluctance to change. And I think one of the biggest reluctancies that people have there is people don't really know what they don't know, and they're really not empowered through that change process that it takes to make makes everyone very uncomfortable. And so what we want to talk about today is how using QuickHelp along with Office 365 really helps people to get through those reluctant feelings of doing something different inside of the way that they work, so that they can feel not only like they're being shown how to work with something new, but they're also being empowered by the organization that they're working for, and that they feel confident in what they're striving towards, as far as gaining a new level of productivity and efficiencies in what they're doing. And so from a strategy standpoint, we want to talk about how bundling QuickHelp with Office 365 works together to really drive and affect your sales of Microsoft. And so as we go through this, I want you guys to kind of wrap your heads around conceptually understanding this new way of looking at how you're selling your Microsoft licenses. Let me get to the next slide here. Hey, Cyril, that is not, there we go. So the first question that we ask here is, what's your intention? When you guys are selling licenses to these customers. Obviously, you're selling these licenses, but they're centered around a business case, right? There's an initiative internally that the folks in the in leadership positions are making these decisions based off of a place that they want to get to inside of their organization. And so, as the provider of those licenses, are you just selling a license to them? Can you provide in those licenses? Can you provide usage statistics of what their employees are doing with Office licenses? Can you provide or speak to a return on the investment? Are you able to provide employee feedback on how the sentiment is and how the feeling is around the Microsoft licenses that they're using? And what's really the goal of your customer? Like I said, there's going to be a business case there, and it could be that they want to drive more OneDrive usage, right? Well, that's not necessarily the goal. The goal, really, if we peeled back layers, the goal could be that there are some security issues that are running them the risk of some financial loss, and so they need to really, drive OneDrive adoption to help avoid those things, right? So really getting to understand what that customer is doing with the Microsoft licenses, and then really being able to provide them positive information on the back end once those licenses are in. And so what we have happening in the marketscape today right now is we're looking at this shift that's going from licensing to more of a focus on productivity. And as we look at this, Microsoft of recent they're really pushing for adoption of all of the applications that they provide, and partners like yourselves are doing the same. We're all really wanting to drive that adoption, get this in the hands of the end user, allow them to use it and to feel empowered by it. The question is, though, and this is where we're really needing to take a position as consultants in this sense to help the end user market mature, is to help them realize what that value of adoption is, right? And so the key thing here, if I can get this to pop up, sorry guys. The key thing here is that adoption is the goal. That's really what we are all wanting. And even though your customers may not totally understand that on the front of this, that really is the end goal of what they're needing to. So what does this mean for you guys? When you're selling a full solution for your customers versus just being a licensed provider, right? This is going to do a few things. It's going to ensure long-term commitment and customer loyalty. When you're able to provide them something that is more valuable than just simply a license, that's definitely going to be something that from in their eyes, looking at you guys have provided them something very valuable. It'll differentiate your offer with added value solutions. When you guys have leads that your folks are working, and maybe you're in competition with somebody else offering these licenses as well, this is something where, like I said, you're now offering a solution. This is something that's going to help differentiate your offering, and also focusing on the shift from licensing to productivity. We really want to look at how this is overall an increase in your Microsoft excellence, right? Because again, the goal here is driving adoption, and that's what Microsoft wants. That's what you want. And if we can help the end user, your customers, to achieve that, we're really going to drive that excellence. And then we become a change and adoption focused organization together. So in the market right now, there's this thing happening, and this is the technology sector in general in the world that we live in. But this gap of knowledge is widening, where change is constantly becoming the new normal. And most organizations want their end users to know more about the technology they're using. But it's just more than that. It's changing at such a rapid pace, and the gap between what users know about the technology and the rate at which technology is changing is just getting larger and larger. The skills gap is going right there with it. Studies show that the average user only knows about 15% of an application's capabilities, which is a scary amount of underutilized technology. And what we're seeing is people are usually working in the same way that they've worked for the last 5 or 10 years. If they want to communicate with somebody, if they want to, whether it's in the department or somebody outside the organization, they send an email. If they want to, send a document, they send it as an attachment. There's old ways of doing things, but the technology wave is providing far more efficient ways of doing things. And so helping people to close that gap is really where we're wanting to drive to. And so on the next slide, there's a great graphic I have here followed by this question: why are users not closing this gap by themselves? And there is that reluctance to change, as you guys mentioned. There is somewhat of a lack of training out there, but people just are typically intimidated by something that's new and complicated and driving towards getting further efficiencies out of what they know. And so this graphic here is a great way to show what we deal with when organizations are not wanting to really move forward. So take a look at that for just a second. I love this. I hear this quite a bit. We're really entrenched in what we're doing, and we're focused on trying to do the best that we can. And so oftentimes we feel like we're so busy that we don't have the time to mess with something new. And oftentimes organizations looking at a quote training tool feel like they don't have time to move out of their job for even 20 minutes to focus on helping to understanding how they can work more efficiently with the tools that they have. And so when we're looking at how QuickHelp can really start to drive that needle forward and help to change the behaviors of what people are doing inside their organizations, when you're talking to your customers, the proof will be in the data. We want to organizationally, shift how we're looking at things for you guys as far as offering this. But when we're looking at our customers, like I said, the proof is in the data. And we can pull all kinds of information out of your customers' QuickHelp accounts as they're using that. And we can start to see amazing information that really shows customer and employee sentiment on what's happening there. Just to highlight one of these that I feel is very powerful is the one on the top right. 53% of users review the QuickHelp content they previously watched. That's really significant because as they're going through and consuming the content that's teaching them how to be more productive with the applications they have inside of Microsoft, they're then going to work with what they've learned and then going back to that same content that they consumed because they felt it was valuable enough that they wanted to review that to make it further a part of what they're doing. And that just really showcases how impactful a good, strong learning platform is that your customers implement for their employees to help them get through that hard transition process of getting a new way of working with new technology. And so how does this look like really from a data standpoint? When we're looking at driving adoption, we can start to look at numbers. We have users, if we were looking at an organization, we could see users not active in QuickHelp and users active in QuickHelp. And we can see that when somebody starts to actually become active in QuickHelp and they start to really truly consume the information and the learning that's in there, we start to see a massive increase in utilization of the Microsoft applications. And this isn't just a small increase, this is pretty significant here. And so we can see here the proof of many organizations across that you can see 294 customers under Brainstorm's tenant using QuickHelp to drive their adoption. And even on a small scale, we can look at an individual organization and we can see the same kind of massive increase when a customer starts to use QuickHelp inside their organization. Another component of value when you guys are talking with your customers, a lot of times the folks in leadership want to hear, they may not understand fully how the learning and the adoption is actually coming along and how people are feeling about it. And being able to have quotes and understanding how that behavior is changing can be valuable information for you guys to relay to your customers. Inside of the learning, there are areas where there are surveys and questions where people can fill out. They can fill those out and then they can be reported back on. So, for example, what benefits do you see from taking the team skill path? Right, it was a relevant training. It helped me believe I can use the tool. Right, that's a huge thing for somebody to, after going through, maybe an hour-long skill path, to be able to feel like I'm now empowered and I believe that I could use this tool, and then being able to report back on that to leadership is such a great thing. So we can actually, like I mentioned before, we're really moving that needle forward. We're looking and focusing on changing the way that they behave and the way that they operate inside of Microsoft. And so how do we actually show that? How do we prove that? We can show inside of the dashboard, inside of QuickHelp, that the end users are using they're consuming the training, they're going through and they're actually taking the skill paths assigned to them, and that they're engaged in that. But then we have a integration here with Microsoft Graph, where we can look at the information straight off of their Microsoft licenses and start to see how that's actually changing inside of the way they're working with Microsoft. And we can dive deeper into that, into individual applications, and we can start to see within each application and over a time period how that adoption is driving forward, and how inside of the application people are actually using those tools. And this becomes such a powerful story, because here is where we're all looking to Microsoft, you guys, and even your customers are all looking to get adoption. We're all looking to consume more of Microsoft and the tools that we have. And here we can show and prove how that is actually happening. Where we really start to have a powerful conversation is when we can start to talk about a return on the investment. Your customers are spending a lot of money on these licenses, and they have a real business case and a use case for that. And so without driving any adoption forward, we really I love this quote: apathy is more expensive than adoption. So as we can drive that adoption forward, now we start to really make some ground. Microsoft has commissioned Forrester to do quite a bit of data research in different areas and different topics of what Microsoft offers. And we've taken about 14 of those research surveys and put them together, put all the data together, what we call this value calculator. And this is part of the graph reporting that you'll have for each of your customers. And what we're trying to do is take the total user population and drive them to what we call an optimized user. And an optimized user is somebody who has used at least 4 applications inside of Microsoft and done at least 25 actions inside of those 4 applications. In other words, we can say that an optimized user is somebody who has now adopted Microsoft and the tools that they're using. And from that Forrester data, we have actual dollar values associated to an optimized user. And so as we can drive more users into that adopted category, or that optimized category, we start to show that there is an increase in the return on investment of those licenses. And the bottom left or the bottom right number that's red, 531,000, that is the gap of ROI that we're going to close and give back to your customers as we drive adoption forward. So this conversation starts to become so much more, as I mentioned earlier, than just simply offering licensing to your customers. This is where we really start to drive that trust and that loyalty and that differentiating component of what you guys are offering to your customers. And so there's two legs to the journey, just to kind of look to start to wrap this up. There's the technical implementation, as those licenses are sold and put into your customers' hands. That's something that is not overly hard to do, is to actually give them the licenses. The next leg is really full adoption of the tools, and that's that large gap that we're trying to really close. We got to build that bridge across that gap with QuickHelp to get full adoption of the tools. And so together, as part of those two components, we have Office and QuickHelp together. Okay, so get this to go to the next slide. And so how do we position that? Where does it fit? How does QuickHelp fit into your company and into your organization as a way of trying to make this shift forward? And it's multiple areas. We can talk about this a little bit. It's marketing, it's sales, it's part of your product bundle. It's a standard offering as part of certain Microsoft licenses that you're selling. And also there's a change management practice associated to this, and helping consult your customers in how they can drive that change process forward. So part of the product strategy is making it a standard offering with Office 365. Part of bake it into your bundled services in applicable tiers. Many partners like you guys have multiple tiers and packages of how you're selling things, and so bundling it properly inside of those licenses is a huge step forward in how this is being consumed and adopted in. Marketing is a huge part of it. As you guys start to talk about this more as part of your standard offering, you want the visibility to the outside world to be aligned with that messaging that you guys are now offering. I kind of quote this here, like an enhanced Office 365 offering, and then creating initiative around that user adoption. And in sales, part of those conversations about Microsoft licenses now become conversations with your customers about change and adoption, and how we can impact ROI, and how we can really make that behaviors change inside that organization. And so educating them and training them and talking about what objections they might run into. We also want to create incentives and reward performance around that. And then, as I mentioned earlier, being a change management consultant, helping your customers understand that there's best practices on how to implement new technology, and then send that downstream to all of the customer, or all of their employees, to help them go through that change process, feeling empowered and feeling like they understand the mission and also the vision of where they're trying to get to. And so, looking at how all this kind of comes together, when you're looking inside of your organization, how do we position this? How do we make this happen? How do we make that shift go forward? And I believe there's 4 areas where we want to make that impact and that growth understood. First, we want to work on executive buy-in. There's multiple areas when we're looking at integrating a new product like QuickHelp into your standard offering. There are multiple executives that are going to want to be part of the understanding of how that's looking, and what kind of a vision we're working towards in our growth. There's also marketing, as I mentioned earlier, and how can marketing help drive this messaging forward and help to market the excellence in Microsoft that your organization is really starting to take on. Sales, the conversations really need to start to, like I said, shift from licensing to productivity and change and adoption focus. And then product and services, baking that into your standard offering where applicable, so that when you're offering an E3 or an E5 license, let's say, that along with other services, QuickHelp is right in there, and it's part of that because you guys want to really sell a full solution to your customers versus just a license. And when we have these 4 areas inside of your organization on the same page, we really get an organizational shift. That's where the needle will really start to tick forward on not only your Microsoft sales, but also your Microsoft consumption from your customers by driving that adoption forward. And you know, if we're missing one component of these 4, that, you know, you don't really quite get as an effective of an organizational shift as we would hope for. So that, to wrap it all up, that's where we want to move forward with you guys is changing this conversation from a licensing to more of a productivity conversation by taking QuickHelp and Microsoft and molding them together to really drive a full solution and an enhanced way of looking at your Office 365 offering to your customers. And so that with that, I'll wrap up my end of it and turn it back over to you, Cyril.
Thank you, very good, Zach. A couple of questions, you know, I think it's very interesting. Some people are very interested about the statistic, you know, you show and kind of the tools that they are embedded. One of the question coming is how complex is to get those data and to leverage that. I think we could speak about Office Graph probably to answer this question.
Okay, yeah. So was the question, how do we get that data in order to show?
It's more on the side of the partner, you know, how he can access the similar data and the complexity to set it up.
Yeah, so that specific data that I showed, where it says, you know, 53% of users go back, we produce what are called insight reports, and essentially you can go into an organization and all of the questions and the surveys and those things, those are all stored, and those insight reports are created off of all the data that's stored there. So Microsoft Graph is just pulling usage information from the Microsoft licenses so that we can start to show you know, active versus inactive, and then also you know, like within Teams, are they using it for phone calls? Are they using it for internal chat? So that's a graph with all of the data components in those survey questions. Those are based off of insight reports that that we can provide based off of each customer and what they're doing within QuickHelp. Does that help to answer that question?
Yeah, I think it answers in more kind of step by step, you know. Configuring Office Graph is a couple of clicks, required global admin right, something you do directly from the comfort of QuickHelp admin portal. A couple of clicks and you get there. Pretty straightforward. Another question is about the how long it's taking to get a customer up and running. And I know it can take a long time if you want to do some change management, but out of the box, how long you say, Zach, to get a customer ready to use QuickHelp and benefits?
Yeah, so we actually utilize something in there inside of QuickHelp called a template. And when you're going to set up a new customer, you'll use a template. Now you can use the one that Brainstorm has provided, or you can actually create your own custom template. But when you use that template to turn up a new customer, it can be done as quickly as 15 minutes. And that is just to simply get them into QuickHelp and get those user licenses created. You know, you're obviously going to be working with your customer quite a bit more on you know, the use case around Microsoft and how QuickHelp's going to help you know, drive that adoption and what specific licenses they have and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of information that you're gathering and working with your customer as part of rolling out QuickHelp. But on the technical side, turning on QuickHelp licenses with a customer tenant is very simple and pretty quick to do.
Yeah, totally agree. The way it's done on the Cumulus side, so Cumulus is our provisioning platform. You add up the SKU. We are currently working on getting an instant provisioning. By this time, in less than a day, you are up and running. You get your credential. You can connect on behalf of the customer and configure the user management. So maybe I think we could we get to the question that I will keep for the Q&A. I'm just going to complement what you say, Zach. So in terms of the offering, pricing is a question that's coming all the time. So here, a couple of suggested price. We propose that you should sell the product. Of course, if it's part of a bundle and is what we recommend, there will be no price attached to QuickHelp. But just to give you an idea of how much you can increase, and those ones are really based, I would say, if you provide the out-of-the-box experience. If you provide QuickHelp, they are up and running and they're on their own, that's the price we suggest. If you do any services around, let's say change management, signing content, this is definitely a low price, and you should have a higher price. So we recommend that if those guys if they just take QuickHelp with you, they don't take other services, a price that makes sense is $5. As soon as you integrate with an Office 365 or other services, $3 is probably the suggested price that makes sense. Again, vision is that you need to add your services. So as you make your super bundle MSP, there should be no notion of Office 365 is an option, or QuickHelp is an option, or QuickHelp is $3. You take it out, you have $3 discount. Maybe Zach, you want to go deeper on that, because it's a discussion we had about how to bundle, and so some tips you might have on that.
The tips on how to bundle.
Because here I'm showing price, I'm showing QuickHelp as an add-on, but we had this discussion, that if you provide, let's say, a productivity SKU, it should not be a matter of I select, is not a la carte, you don't select the option you want. So probably those prices are really, let's say, the out-of-the-box experience of the tool instead of the MSP services.
Right. What we've seen is when a tool like QuickHelp is offered as, like you said, an a la carte item or an option as an add-on, it's not taken well because people don't really fully understand the value of it without oftentimes experiencing it, and so what we found is that people will oftentimes self-select out of training because they don't feel like training is something they have time for. It goes back to what we were talking about there. We don't have time for it, or there's a reluctance to do it, right? And so when we can talk about Office 365 and the offering that you're giving as a change and adoption focus, really the conversation is then going to drive around, we're going to give you these licenses, but we're also going to help you drive the adoption and get an ROI off of these things. Then there's not the same sentiment of self-selecting out of a training offering. It's a value add at that point where your customers will feel like what they're getting is something that is a more powerful a more powerful license that they're getting from you than possibly from a competitor.
Yeah, definitely. Other point I think is important to mark. Some of you didn't notice yet, but ShareWeb, we are really, really oriented to the success of our MSPs. And we made a kind of a few months ago, we had a lot of feedback on how complex it is for an MSP to start creating a bundle. So based on those feedback, we decided to change the way we sell Office 365. So now, anytime you buy Office 365 with ShareWeb, so when you buy those hero SKU that are anyway the one that people purchase, by default it's coming with some other solution at no extra cost. And here really the vision is helping you to discover those products, helping you understand the value that they could bring to your customer. And what we aim is really helping you building this productivity bundle, because Office 365, like Zach say, there is a big switch. You don't sell license anymore. You have to sell productivity. You have to sell managed services. So now, when you buy Office 365 with us, you get at no extra cost a QuickHelp. So you get QuickHelp, a Jumpstart. We call that Jumpstart because you can activate QuickHelp at any time, and you will have access to the application for 45 days. Here, the notion is to help you to present the solution, use it as maybe a proof of concept, and helping your customer understand the value of adopting the solution they just purchased. Other products that come, Office Protect, this is something that ShareWeb built from scratch. It's really about how to secure your Office 365 tenant. So you are getting, you can apply the best security settings as you get it. And for a period of 30 days, you're going to get an active monitoring of what's happening in terms of security on your tenant. And also access to online backup. We are giving you a gig of online backup for every Office 365 user that you buy. And again, because we think it's very valuable in terms of security, this is your last recovery point, let's say, backup. So we think it's critical, and knowing it's part of most of MSP offer, we're thinking it was very important for us to equip you with that. In terms of NFR, so not for resale, if you want to use QuickHelp for your internal use, we have this program. Most of the product of ShareWeb are there with discount. Office Protect, for example, you can get it for free. We go up to 60% off on other product. I think QuickHelp, if I don't mistake, 40% off for your internal use. Also inside QuickHelp, we assign to reseller a different template that's for customers. So step by step, we are going to push you some content that they are really reseller facing to help you better sell product, better sell Office 365, and so on and so on. So if you need to activate that, just speak with your account manager, and they will be able to give you the NFR offers available. In terms of resources, if you don't know our toolbox, ask your account manager. It's something that you got with your info kit. So here, some of the collaterals that there, you get the product pagers to kind of, in a quick view, have the main features and benefits. You get slides, very similar slides to what we have today. Actually, we're going probably to update those ones to include some of the content of Zach. So slides really to go to a customer. You get an email template to do a bit of lead generation. Best practice to configure QuickHelp. So what are the 5 steps that you have to go to have your QuickHelp up and running for your customer? And the last one is really a demo walkthrough. So this is not the first webinar we do on QuickHelp, so we didn't show the application. It's pretty powerful. The best way to set it is really share your screen and walk through QuickHelp and show the way it can impact and the way learn through this application. Do you have something to add, Zach, on maybe on demo or some of the content that I just presented?
No, I think as far as demoing goes, typically showing the QuickHelp tool for your customers is something that can be done, pretty quickly and easily. Just showing kind of the way that the end user would work inside of the skill pass that they'll consume. That's very easy to do, and then more of the larger focus of a demo would really be centered around a lot of the conversation that we showed earlier, which is helping them understand how it's going to help to drive the productivity and the efficiency of the users and providing a good ROI to the licenses.
That's interesting. Zach, just to know if it's something we can do, we still have a couple of questions to answer. Is it possible maybe to do, we still have some time to do a quick demo a bit later during the presentation?
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, so I'll give you a bit of time to set up. In the meantime, we can continue a couple of other questions. I think, yeah. So some people, I think, might be brand new to the subject. So I'm going to show you a bit of the features. That's a question we got a lot in the Q&A. So here, really the main features. So like Zach, do you want to go on this one, or you have to focus on preparing the demo?
Yeah, give me just 1 minute to get the demo ready to go.
No, sure. Okay, so I will go really on the features. There is this notion, so you get a very big library of a lot of content. People at Brainstorm, they have really I think it's over half of their staff is actually producing content. So they're really up to date and they really follow the trends of Office 365. So really a lot of very good content up to date on all the products for Office 365. That's the question we got. You got OneDrive, you got SharePoint, you got Teams, all those applications that are there, you find content. What is very interesting is not just a library, they really go with this notion of skill path. And you can get, and because video are really short and they really get straight to the point, you really enjoy learning with the application. So you get, and what I really love, you get the why, it's not just about learning an application, why you want to learn, why you want to, to improve and be more productive. So very interesting, the way of getting these skills. They get live training every month. So it's about 45 live training where there is actually a trainer on the line. So the Q&A is live. It's very interesting. In our organization, we've seen that those live training, they attract more customer. They kind of feel a duty that, oh, I have an appointment. I have this live event at 2 p.m. I must go. So more people show up. It's not only about application. A bunch of skill paths are about soft skills. So again, something very interesting. There is this notion of assessment. And what is interesting is that when you are an admin of QuickHelp, you get access to all this data, and you can really see there is question about the way you feel about the application and your experience. So you get a lot of insight, and that answers another question. Of course, you can track the courses. You can see who follow the training that they were assigned. You get dashboard and all those things. Booking is not there, Zach. I don't think so, not yet. The application, Microsoft Booking?
No.
No, not yet. Okay. Recently, they released Dynamics 365. Pretty interesting. That you open a bit larger than Office. There is training about security and always new content, like every 2 weeks, something like that. There is new content added to the platform. So very, very interesting.
Yeah, and just to add to this as well, Cyril, one of the really good features within QuickHelp is being able to upload and create your own custom content into QuickHelp, and I can talk a little bit about that in the demo.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to allow you to share your desktop, and let's run. Let me double check the Q&A to be sure that we don't forget anyone. So let's do a 10 minutes demo if we're good with that.
Yeah, I'll have to zip through it pretty quick, but we can do that.
Okay. So I made you a presenter. So just go on the sharing screen.
Alrighty. Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Know when you can see.
All set. Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So when I'm doing a demo, the first thing I usually do is start out with a slide deck, and I like to keep it pretty short. I don't want to start out with too much talking per se. So start out with maybe 3 or 4 slides that starts to talk about get the person's mind thinking around adoption, right? And kind of get them opened up to that. And then I'll move into the demo. And so picking up at this point, when I log into as a user, the first thing that I'm going to see is a welcome video. This is what we have created as a welcome video. It's short, it's 15 seconds. Just kind of helps to start the initial process of moving into QuickHelp. This is an area where you can customize this welcome video. So if you wanted it to be something that your customers saw a little short video clip of you guys, or if they wanted to create their own welcome video internally within the organization, they can do that. But I'm just going to skip that really quick. So then we're going to also start to move into helping to create this profile. There's already going to be some work done before based around what we're really trying to work towards. Is it a full is it a new migration? Is it, we're looking to try and drive Teams and Yammer usage? What's the initiative there? And there's going to be some assignments already made based upon why they're buying these licenses or why we're using QuickHelp. But we're going to kind of keep going with that here by asking them how often they're going to be using each of these. So each of these applications, I'll just say I'm going to be using them very frequently, but this is totally different for everybody. And then also what best describes me. I primarily work from home or from an office, and I don't travel much, and I manage a process and coordinate activities, right? So just a couple questions to help understand the way that people are working and to the level of that they're going to be using these applications, right? And I might use a tablet and a smartphone as well. So what's going to happen here is it's finalizing my whole user journey that I'm going to go through within QuickHelp. Now, I have access to every skill path, and I'll show you what a skill path here is in a second. I have access to all of them as a user, but what I have really is assigned content. And the assigned content is what that my leadership has given me as a way to start to go through the process of adopting the applications that I'm really supposed to be learning, right? And so we could look at this instance as a new migration, right? And we're going to start with an Office 365 skill path. Now, a skill path is a topic of learning. Like I said, this one's going to be kind of an introductory to Office 365. And a skill path is made up of courses, and these courses are all made up of assets. Most assets are all video based, and you can see that these videos are all pretty short, and none of them really go over 3 or 4 minutes. The reason we do that is because again, people are busy, people are working, and so it's hard to take this whole skill path is almost an hour and a half. It's hard to block out an hour and a half to just sit there and bury your face in training. And even still, if you could have that time, you're not going to remember everything that you did or everything that you learned during an hour and a half. And so by taking these bite-sized chunks, I can go ahead and watch a minute and a half video about downloading the Office 365 apps. Once that video is over, I can jump right into my Microsoft license, and I can start to apply what I just learned. And so the way of learning through this model is very effective. Everything builds upon the previous asset. Now, other types of assets that we have are going to be webinar learning-based sessions that a user can register for. There's lots of different times, and this is a webinar style where they can come in with a facilitator and ask questions all based around the basics of Office 365. Think of it as just the art of what's possible. I could ask questions, I could learn from other users' questions who are part of this same webinar, and it just is another way to help me grow through what I'm doing. Another example of a course is going to be prompting me to, it can drive me to another outside website. So for example, this is going to direct me to log into Office for the first time, right? Or it can be a link to a URL of some kind. You can also link up PDFs. And so this video could be specifically about whatever topic it might be, with a PDF download that helps support that helps support whatever the topic of this video is. So this is just going to be a PDF download for like a cheat sheet that they can download and have reference to later. So there's a lot of ways that these assets can be utilized, and they can be set up to be very productive for the end user. So that's how the skill path operates. And again, like I said, I'm going to have various assigned skill paths, And they can come to me in phases. They can come to me, if I'm a new employee, and I could be in an onboarding group. And as my, week 1, week 2, week 3 goes by, I can get new assets with each week to help me get through my onboarding process. And a lot of that onboarding could also be the custom content. It could be HR material. It could be, documents that they need to review that are specific to the company they work for. It could be, compliance or whatever that might be, along with the assigned content that we have as canned information that's centered around Office 365. Up here, we just have a couple icons that just show me tasks what I have to do or what's assigned to me, and gamification, what I have achieved as I've gone through points and badges that I've been earning. So this is the user interface for the end user. This is the way that they're going to operate it. It's kind of been called the Netflix of learning, based upon how the interface is laid out and how it's given to me as a user. Now, over here, I've got my toolbar on the left-hand side. And
do
this
you
is where,
mind kind of showing the question that came to quickly go on content and just kind of show the variety of subject you have? Some people were curious to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's we have I think somewhere around 70 different skill paths, and so I have access as a user. I have access to all of these, though not all of them are going to be complete. They may not all be assigned to me. We might not really be using Yammer internally, and so I'm not going to have Yammer as an assigned skill path for me. So this kind of shows the vastness of what's there. And then I can actually go up here and I can search for something too. So if I need to, set an out of office, but I have forgot how to do that, I can go up here and I can search for that, and it'll bring up the specific video inside of a skill path that shows me how to go ahead and do that. So over here, like I was saying, on the left-hand toolbar, there's a couple, things I can continue to look further into here. Events, things about my company. I can see what groups are, so you can group people together. So if you wanted to have certain skill paths that went out to clinicians, let's say, versus the rest of the company, you can group the clinicians together and make the management of those skill paths and the consumption and everything in there a little bit more efficient. So that's the user side. As an admin, you would see here, it would say admin right here. And if you clicked on that, it would bring you to this page here. And this is the dashboard I was mentioning, where this is going to show everything that's happening inside of QuickHelp with your users. This is Brainstorm. This is ours. And you can see the usage graph here as our engagement engine is you got your customers can have emails that are going to go out and remind people that they have an upcoming skill path that has a due date, or notification of a new skill path that's been assigned to them. That's the green line that you're seeing here. And as that green line goes up with the email engine going out, the yellow line is consumption, goes right with it. So people are engaged in consuming these videos, these assets, as the engagement engine of QuickHelp keeps them involved. And that communication is all customizable as far as how you want that engagement to go. So this just shows a lot of information around, what people are searching for a lot, how much assigned content is being completed, what's being bookmarked or liked, what people are doing with that. And then also the gamification. I can see here who's doing really well and who's
so where are you, Zach? I cannot find you here. Yeah?
I'm not on there. I'm kidding. So well, this is great because internally you can use this snapshot as a great way to keep the engagement in QuickHelp fun, and you can also maybe offer some incentives around who's doing really well. It just keeps people motivated in a fun, competitive way. So as we look at this information, this is great to be able to show what what users are doing inside of QuickHelp and that they're actually consuming the skill paths that are assigned to them. But the graph data is really where, as I mentioned in the slides earlier, that's really where we start to get a lot of power in the conversations. And as I was saying, when you're offering a demo, this is where, this is where we really start to go into the meat and potatoes of the conversation of value for your customers. So we can see here just a quick overview of all of the different applications and active versus inactive licenses, how many total licenses we have to who's active. And then we can jump into and dive into individual applications like Teams, right, or Skype or SharePoint, whatever that your customer is using. You can start to see individually in a broken down view what's happening with each of those licenses here. Now, the value calculator is really where I like to kind of look at and spend some time, because that's really, from your customer standpoint, that's where they're really starting to understand what adoption is truly doing within their organization, right? When users are starting to become efficient with Microsoft, how that's really looking from a number standpoint. Now, you got to realize that Brainstorm, we are core centric to Microsoft, and because of just the nature of what we do from a product standpoint, we're very progressive in what we're doing on a technology plane. And so you can see that we have a really high engagement here as far as the net present value, or the dollar amount associated to adoption, right? So 259 total users. A lot of these we only have we don't even have this many employees. Some of these are contractors and stuff like that. So we have a really high optimized user base based off of the licenses that we have. And so this is where, like I was saying, you can start to look at optimized users as adopted users of the applications of Microsoft. And the more that we can take from this bank here and apply into this bank here, the higher this needle is going to climb, and the lower that ROI gap is going to become. So it's more realized ROI when we're driving adoption forward. And it's fantastic because you can show your customers these numbers right here, and show them how powerful not just the licenses are, but the fact that their users have been able to understand how to use the licenses, and how that's affecting their organization from a financial standpoint, and a return on that investment that they've made with all of the licenses. And so that's basically the demo that I go through. I know that was touch more than 10 minutes, but there's not a whole lot to really spend on inside of the user interface, other than just kind of showing that it's really easy to use, and then more emphasis shown on when you're selling these licenses and QuickHelp with it. There's more emphasis shown on how powerful it's going to be for their organization by driving adoption.
Yeah, definitely. And I think demo, it's always a good way to present, and people get excited about learning. Is we all want to learn, we never get the tool. So I think showing is the best. So really kind of call to action for you. If you didn't yet, speak with your account manager about QuickHelp, share with you the collaterals. I really think using yourself is the best way to adopt a solution. With the NFR program, it's become really cheap. And if you think about it, like, all of us are selling Teams and all those new products from Office 365, but most of people, they don't really know it. So even just for yourself, like feeling more confident on what you are selling every day, I think it's a great opportunity. And also, don't hesitate to present it to your customer, even if you are not an expert yet. We can jump on call, help you, present the value to your customer, and close those deals together. Do you have a final word, Zach, maybe to our partners?
No, I think I've probably talked enough. I think that, really just in closing, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to help all of our customers understand truly what it means to have all of their users fully adopt the Office 365 licenses. That's really the biggest notion from this is, and all of the components from bundling to marketing to sales, like everything, it really all comes down to we need to try and help our customers understand why it is so valuable for their organization to drive adoption.
Yeah, I agree. And being the one that enabled them, I think the value is huge. It is really important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Zach. Probably we'll see you again for another another session like that.
Yep.
So everyone, thank you for joining. We'll send the recording and slide as usual. Come talk to us. That's really the idea of those webinars. Let's continue the discussion. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.